These are the 5 best questions to ask your interviewer or future manager before you accept a job offer. These questions can help you uncover information that will help you stand out in your interviews, and this is going to help you avoid walking into a really bad situation. And as a recruiter, I cannot express how important it is for you to ask questions at the end of your interview. There's been so many times where I've heard hiring managers say that the interview went really well, but the candidate didn't have any questions for them at the end of the interview, which makes them feel like they're not excited about the role. And if a hiring manager or interviewer thinks that you're not interested in taking the job, then it's going to hurt your chances of actually getting the job. So the first question that you must ask the interviewer, I actually recommend you do it before you answer any interview questions at all. And that is the question, what are the skills that you are looking for that are not listed in the job description? And what are the immediate projects or problems that I would be working on? This is the most important question to ask before you answer any interview questions, because it's going to tell you exactly what the team is looking for. It's going to tell you what skills they think are most important, what skills you actually don't really need, or what technologies you don't need to know, and it's going to tell you exactly the type of experience that they're looking to hire, because teams typically want to hire someone who's already done the exact thing that they need this person to work on. So once you figure out what the project is or what the problem is that they're trying to solve, now you know which stories to tell to make you the best candidate for the role. But I will warn you, this is a bit of an advanced interviewing technique, because if you were to ask this question at the beginning of your interview and then still say your rehearsed and scripted answer that you've memorized when it comes to tell me about yourself or walk me through your resume or what is your greatest accomplishment, if you just go with the memorized answers after asking them to tell you what you would be working on, this is actually going to hurt your chances. So only ask this question if you feel like you're comfortable adjusting your answer on the fly. Now, the second really good question to ask your future boss before you accept a job offer is, how does the company invest and train its managers? Now, not every company is going to have a formal manager training program, but the ones that do know how important it is for a manager to be good at their job, because 70% of people don't leave the job because of the job or for the pay, but they leave because of their boss. And so if you're going to work for a company and they actually have a former manager training program, or the manager just tells you that there is a lot of investment and training for their managers and resources to make sure that they're well equipped to handle their team's promotion and questions, that's going to give you a good hint and indication that you're walking into a really good situation and the company culture really cares about its employees. Also, listen to how the manager answers the questions and what they talk about in terms of what are the skills that they've learned and how they try to be a really good boss. Now, if they tell you their company unfortunately does not have any type of manager training program, or there's no additional skills or training that the managers need to go and get, then you should follow this up with a question like, so what is one new thing that you've learned as a manager in the last year? And you should gauge the answer based on what they tell you. If they give you something really generic and kind of boilerplate or something that any general boss would say, then it probably doesn't tell you that they have a good level of self-awareness and they're striving for improvement as a manager and that they truly care about their team. But if they give you a really vulnerable answer, or they talk about like a really good life lesson, or they share an example of something on their team that they have done, then that's going to give you a hint that they're probably a good boss. And the next question you should be asking is, are you subscribed to this YouTube channel? Because I post free weekly content every single week to help you in your job search and to be better at your job. Now, the next question to ask is, what is something you're allowed to share that gets you really excited about this company's future? You want to ask this question because you want to make sure you're not joining a sinking ship. Because on top of making sure you have a really good boss and that you really like the job, you also want to make sure that your job is safe and this company isn't going to be doing layoffs or it's not going to go bankrupt. Now, make sure you're paying very close attention to the way that they answer this question based on their body language and their tone of voice. They should be getting really excited to answer this question. You should see their face light up and you should see their tone of voice start to increase. And they shouldn't need time to think about an answer for you on the spot. Next, you should ask a question like, if you think about a recent hire that your team has made, what has really impressed you about them after they've joined? This is another great question to ask at the end of the interviews, because it's going to give you more information and ammunition for your future interviews, telling you what they really care about and what projects they want you to talk about in the future. Also, if they talk about how many people they've hired in the last year or two, this is going to give you a sense of whether this team is growing and this company is doing well, and if the company is investing in this team or product. Because you don't want to be joining a team that's maybe had a lot of attrition, or a team that's not looking to grow year over year. And they're also most likely going to give you a little bit of insight in terms of what types of projects this team is working on, and you may even get a sense of what you're going to be working on in the future. Next, you should ask a question like, Why did you choose to join this company? And has your experience so far lived up to the expectation? I'll be honest, you're not really asking this question for yourself because their answer really isn't going to influence or shouldn't influence whether or not you take this job at all. But what this question will do is get your interviewer to talk about themselves, which is always going to make them feel good, which if they feel good, they're most likely going to feel like the interview went really well, and they're going to say that they had an enjoyable conversation with you as a candidate. Now, because you watched this far in the video, I have a bonus for you. Up on the screen right now are questions that you should never ask your interviewer or future boss after an interview. I know these questions are important and may influence whether or not you take this job, so you should wait to ask these questions once you receive the job offer. If you ask these questions too early before you get a job offer, you are going to give your interviewer and boss the wrong impression about you. If you ask these questions, it's going to show that you didn't do any research, you don't care about this role, and they might be worried that you're not going to stay in this role for very long. So there are the 5 best questions to ask your interviewer or future boss before you accept a job offer to make sure that you can stand out in the interview process and you're not walking into a trap. Thank you all for watching, and don't be afraid to shake things up now that you know how to figure out if you should take this job or not.